When your friend is looking fat, 'cause he sits at home all day with his cat, you could try giving him a yoga mat, but he might not like that, but stay positive. When the girl at work is feeling sad, she's way behind and the boss is mad, give her a hand that she has not had and let her know it's not so bad. Stay positive.
Good morning. We, Cindy and I had only been pastoring for a short while. It was our first assignment together after we were married. And there was this couple that occasionally we would have over to our home. They were another ministry couple. And we would invite them to come and come over to our house, and we did some things occasionally together. But gradually, as we spent time together, we began to notice something. And what we began to notice is that for several days after we had spent time with them, we were cranky, grouchy, grumpy. Sounds like a Disney movie, doesn't it? Complaining. And we just began to think about that a little bit, and why is that? And we suddenly began to connect it with every time we spent time with this couple. And we began to think about the times when we were together. Well, what happened? Well, they would complain about the people in their church, and they would complain about their family, and they would complain about this and complain about that, and we would hear all these complaints. And it sort of filled us up with complaining. And so for several days, we would just sort of complain our way out of that and eventually get better. And we began to think, this isn't healthy. This isn't good. And so we had to consciously in our life make a choice, make a decision about the fact that while we didn't want to unfriend, they didn't have that back then, unfriend this couple, we had to limit our time with them, and we had to be careful about the time we spent with them because we didn't want to become like that. We didn't want our life to begin to reflect that kind of attitude, that kind of life for us. And this series we've been doing is about staying positive. Staying positive. Some people seem to live to focus on the negative. And maybe you know some of those people. Maybe you are one of those people. Sorry. And let me just tell you this morning, what I want to, as we're wrapping this whole series up, I want to just talk to you about being an encourager. And what we had experienced wasn't encouraging. It didn't encourage us in ministry. Actually, we felt discouraged every time they left. And so we want to talk about how, as believers in Jesus Christ, we can be a people who offer encouragement to others. And I just want to tell you, there's a great power in being people who encourage others. We have a good friend, another friend in ministry. Her name is Brenda Young. Brenda pastors, she's lead pastor of our church in Akron, Ohio, Cornerstone Free Methodist Church. Cornerstone has an amazing ministry. It's a average community. They struggle with some of the very same kinds of things, paying the bills and all that kind of stuff, just making ends meet. But they stretch everything they do, and they do things well. And they especially reach young people really well. Well, Brenda is, I think she's Cindy and my age, somewhere around there, probably, somewhere close at least, or a little older maybe. And but let me tell you, whenever we're with Brenda, we walk away feeling lifted up. We just walk away feeling better because we've spent time with her. She's an encourager. We're friends with her on Facebook, and we always look forward to reading what Brenda's going to write about on Facebook today. What comment, what insight, what encouragement is she going to offer today? And it isn't that she doesn't ever talk about struggles and trials. She does. But there's something about being around Brenda. In fact, a number of years ago, when over at our Willow Street facility, we had remodeled the building, and we were trying to think about who would we want to invite to preach the Sunday that we were dedicating that renovation project. The person that came to mind was Brenda Young, and we invited Brenda to come, and she spoke that day. And here's why. Because I wanted somebody who would walk in and not notice that the building was small, or that it was in a rough part of town, or she wouldn't click on that, or the basement's a little dingy. And she would walk in and make our people feel good about the ministry we were doing there. And she did just that. In fact, we have that kind of such confidence in her. A year ago, we took our pastor team on a retreat over into Ohio. And at the end of that, I had arranged that as we were coming back to Pennsylvania, that we would stop at Akron, and that we would have a time to spend to Brenda, because I wanted us to learn of how do you move from where we are and continue to experience growth. What is it we have to do? And what is it as pastors that we need to think about doing, and how we needed to look at that. And so I said, hey, Brenda, would you meet with our team? And so we met with Brenda, and she started asking questions and stuff like that. And she just kept affirming our team and affirming each of them. And it was so encouraging just to watch that happen as she just lifted up and affirmed our team, our pastoral team here at the Free Methodist Church here in Old City. She's that kind of person. It's a powerful thing to be around an encourager. So how can you be an encourager? What is it that you need to do if you're going to be an encourager? Well, I want to sort of give you a formula for some ways to encourage this morning, or some things to do. First of all, I just want to encourage you to encourage others daily. Encourage others daily. You see, you have to make it a pattern in your life. You're not going to be an encourager if you think, well, Saturday's my encouragement day. I'm going to encourage people on Saturday. It ain't going to happen. You have to begin to let it be something that just sort of seeps out of your life. It flows through you. And so I just want to encourage you to be an encourager who encourages people every day. Now, the hardest group perhaps is the people where you live, right? Those are the people that we grouse and gripe with the most and about the most, okay? But you need to be encouraging. They need to know that you value them and that they're important to you and that you care about them. The writer to the Hebrews, the book of Hebrews, wrote this: "But encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be burdened by sin's deceitfulness." I find it interesting that the writer here somehow connects the idea of encouraging one another, that it somehow keeps us from becoming hardened by sin's deceitfulness. In some ways, we might even think that, well, if I'm always just encouraging people, they're going to miss the change they need to make in their life. But here the writer of Hebrews says that we're going to encourage one another so that none of us may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. We want to keep our attitude so open, so encouraging, so positive that it makes a difference in that we don't become hardened by sin's deceitfulness. Now, I thought about, well, what should I do? What would it look like for me to encourage daily? Well, the first thing is, if you're going to be encouraging daily, the first way you're going to encourage by your words. You're going to encourage others daily by your words. Let me just tell you, words are powerful things. They can move people to love. They can move people to hate. They can move people to anger. They can move people to kindness. Words are powerful. They make a difference. We're seeing that in this election season, right? We're seeing the words that are being said, the verbiage, the words that are going out there are moving people very much emotionally. Words are powerful. They can wound deeply or they can heal. What's interesting is studies show us that wounding words take numerous healing words to compensate for the wound. My guess is most of us here in this room at some point in our life have been wounded by words. especially if they came from a family member or a close friend. A word that was said